So, what I believe is the most toxic trait today is wanting to be felt, heard, and seen, right? And it's not because we don't deserve to be understood, but because this relentless need for what it is, which is external validation, I just feel like it's eroding our sense of resilience. Every time something feels uncomfortable is labeled as a threat to our mental health. Not every uncomfortable moment is trauma, and not every difficult situation is harmful to your nervous system. Our inability to distinguish between genuine threats and opportunities for growth is what's actually dysregulating us, if you ask me. The overuse of terms like mental health and nervous system regulation, it's created a culture where discomfort is demonized and we're losing the ability to thrive. In some cases, some people are just losing the ability to just cope. This is why I speak so much about capacity, because it's rooted in developing us as adults to be able to handle the modern day world as it is, not as we wish it to be.
I can't lie, yeah, what she's saying is real. I feel that we have to be careful with this one though, because there's a very thin line between acknowledging mental health and trauma and people just using it as an excuse to get away with things or to act certain ways and avoid accountability. There is a thin line, but I think that in this day and age, because we're getting so smart, I mean, when I say smart, not everyone's so smart. You see what's going on out there. But because of the information era, we're able to receive more information, research. I think a lot of people have learned terms, and language is a funny thing because the more words you can place on things like emotions, the way you act, personalities, characters, the more humans naturally use excuses with words. Do you get what I'm saying? And there are areas in mental health where we have to acknowledge acknowledge when people act a certain way and it's not really their fault. Maybe there is mental health issues, there are mental health challenges, do you know what I mean? But then again, if we're not careful and everyone learns so many terms, because this is what's happening now, yeah. I think mental health has become more of a thing in the last 10 years, and it's now they're now buzzwords, they're now keywords, things like mental health, nervous system, trauma, just like she said. And because so many people are learning about it, people are researching or reading things on the internet that may relate to how they've acted or the way they are, and then they will use that, and then people will now run with it as an excuse to get away with stuff. And if everyone does that, we enter a situation where it becomes that old school story about the boy who cried wolf, and he basically cried out for attention, said they were wolves. First time, people came to help. Second time, people came to help. Third time, there was really wolves, and no one came to help because they didn't believe him. The reason why I'm relating that to mental health is because if everyone just uses mental health as a way to avoid accountability, yeah, it won't be considered anymore. After a while, we can't even look at it, because if everyone's saying I did this because of mental health, or I can't do this because of mental health, then everyone would just be allowed to be wayward. Do you know what I mean? But then there are some extreme mental health cases, like people that are not really in their right mind. You've got the spectrum as well, people that are on the spectrum. There's certain things that, you know, the brain, when the brain's not functioning well. And those things are to be acknowledged, and you have to be fair to people that experience that type of thing. But the main thing that we need to understand is, I think everyone will have some sort of trauma in this life. The thing is, yeah, it's funny because I've got a baby son now, yeah, and basically his mum, she feels strongly about mental health and childhood trauma, and she's works in that field, and she's very alert to it, like very she and her goal is to make sure she raises our child in a way where he doesn't have a traumatic upbringing, and you know he's like, she's hyper aware basically, because of certain things she's been through growing up. So she's very careful about everything we do, like the type of love he receives, his emotional well-being, all of that. And as much as I love it, because that's what makes her a great mother, at the same time, I know, yeah, that there'll be times, like, I think that the world, I know what God wrote in the Bible, I know that this world, there's evil in it. So I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just being real. Everyone's going to have some sort of trauma. It could be minor, it could be major, God forbid, don't wish that on anyone. But you're going to suffer some sort of pain and some sort of hurt, because that's part of life. You have to, you will go through that emotion, and it might shape how you moving forward. But that doesn't mean we can use it as an excuse to do wrong, do bad, or even give up on ourselves, and then use that. You know what I'm saying? The world is uncomfortable at times, and that's what she's basically saying, is like, we have to learn to be soldiers and fighters, and not just give up at every emotion we feel, and anything that has affected us. We have to fight it, because if you don't fight it, you'll just keep going downhill, and deep into depression. But if you understand that this world is not balanced, it's not really a fair world. I heard something the other day that, I think I saw on the Joe Budden podcast, he said, if the world is not fair for everyone, doesn't that mean the world is fair? Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, think about it. Think about that one. But anyway, what I'm saying is that there's bad stuff in this world, and we might face some of it, and we have to build the resilience to get through it. And we can't all just say, oh, my mental health is suffering, and give up. You know, of course, there are certain situations where if your mental health is suffering, you can't move, or you're in a mad zone and life is really messed up, then yeah, you know, there's space for that. And I'm happy that it's a conversation, and with the way the world's going, it's good to be aware of mental health, and be nicer to each other. But at the end of the day, we've got to rise in this storm. Like, we've got to fight through it, and we've got to, you know, just understand that things ain't rosy, and live our life, and then find our own peace.
Everybody wants peace, but I just feel like nobody really has an idea of what it really takes, because if your peace depends on cutting people off, setting boundaries, avoiding negativity, or controlling your environment, in essence, you don't have peace. You have a fragile setup that only works as long as life goes your way. And the reason peace feels so hard is it's because you're obsessed with how to get it instead of who you need to become to embody it. You think if you figure out the right routine, the right mindset, the right boundaries, you'll finally feel at ease. But real peace has absolutely nothing to do with the how or how you strategize. It's about who you are when everything around you is uncertain, chaotic, and even uncomfortable. Most people don't trust themselves enough for that. They rely on strategies to keep them calm instead of becoming the kind of person who stays grounded no matter what. And that's why peace always feels out of reach, because you've made it something you manage instead of something that you are. Here's a question for you, okay? Am I actually at peace, or am I just micromanaging my life so that I don't have to face what disrupts it?
Wow, is she speaking to me? Hey, like, I'm not gonna lie, this is something that I've recently kind of figured out, and I'm not fully there yet, because I say I want peace, right? But what I do is I micromanage my life, as she said, to get the peace. So I stay away from certain people that disrupt my peace. I go into my own shell. I have found a way to protect myself from hurt or pain. And an example of that is, I remember I was speaking to my missus. I always say this nowadays. Oh my days, I'm really a committed man. Hey, basically, we was talking about a situation, a family issue, and I was like, I don't care. Like basically, in terms of having a relationship with certain people, I was like, I don't care. Yeah, and she was like, no, you do care. You just say this to yourself because of the maybe the hurt and pain you've been through. Remember I said earlier she's like into therapy and all of that. So she's like, because of the hurt you have received from people before, you have built up this wall that protects you from getting that hurt again. And I hear it and I'm so good at it now because it's been a regular thing in my life. But and then what I would say usually is I'm protecting my peace. But really I'm avoiding it and I'm not dealing with it. And the biggest lesson that you will learn that from is when you live with people or you have a wife or whatever. It's something that I've learned recently because I know that my household needs to be in order, right? And my wife can nag, she could do everything or whatever, but losing the relationship and splitting up, unless she completely violates and cheats or something, but losing the household as it is, especially with a child there, is very peak. Is worse than a little bit of discomfort, yeah, and learning how to deal with it. Sometimes we let our pride mess things up and mess relationships up because we would say, "Oh, I want peace." Everyone says, "I want a wife to give me peace," or I want peace at home," but peace is not based on your missus. Peace is not based on home or whatever. Peace is based on how you deal with things inside. And that's what I learned. You have to be at peace with yourself so that even if things are crazy around you, yeah, you're at peace of knowing, okay, that's their problem or that's not my problem. And I don't mean that in an irresponsible way. I mean, I'm not going to let this trigger me or send me to anger, send me to depression. I'm going to understand what it is. I'm going to diffuse and try and deal with it. And I know if someone has talks bad on you, for instance, know yourself, know how you feel about yourself, think about your good points, and just be at peace. Peace comes within, and it's something that I've had to learn. So if you, not saying that there ain't some mad situations where people live in wild situations and maybe your house is not peaceful, but you have to kind of have peace knowing that your house is not peaceful. That might sound crazy, but you have to keep your peace, basically. Of course, there are certain situations where people really want to disrupt your peace, but peace is how you react. Do you know what I mean? If you're someone at peace, yeah, you won't rise to the occasion and you kind of won't let how people treat you trigger you. Like I said before, the world is crazy, so we can't avoid traumatic events. But what we can do is deal with it in a peaceful manner. And that comes inside. That peace doesn't side with ego. It doesn't side with pride. Peace just means I want the best result out of this situation that will keep me sane and keep me calm and you know, I will be able to still experience joy and happiness. Yeah. It's hard, it's easier said than done. I'm not there yet. I'm gonna be real. I'm not there at all. But peace comes from within, and what she said is so right. So all of these people that say I cut off, I used to say it a lot too, that I'll cut you off easily. I was trying to achieve peace, but I was doing it the wrong way. I wasn't really being real with the peace I was trying to get. I was running away from every other emotion that doesn't look like peace, but I wasn't gaining peace, if that makes sense. All I was doing was blocking things out. But to really gain peace, I have to re-engineer my mind and you know, drop the ego, drop the pride, and really love myself Yeah, and then I think I could truly find peace. So what she said is real.